Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Good morning again, friends. Thank you for joining us today. We so appreciate your companionship. As we continue today our little journey through Psalm 23, we come to the latter part of verse 4, which says, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, if you recall, the first part of the verse said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Well, let's take a look at those two things that the shepherd is carrying. The rod, first of all, was intended for protection, to ward off any predators that may be threatening the flock. We recall that sheep are basically defenseless, and so they need someone to protect them. And that's part of what the rod was used for. But occasionally, the rod had to be used for correction of a sheep that was being stubborn or willful or just needed some correction for some reason. But in both cases, both uses brought comfort to the sheep, knowing that he was loved and protected. Now the staff, as you've probably seen pictures of, it's a long pole or stick that has a crook in the end of it, and that crook is intended to hook around the sheep, to pull it back into line, or even on occasion to rescue a sheep that had gotten into trouble. So both of those things brought comfort to the sheep, because truly the sheep, even though it's not too smart, realizes that when it's with the rest of the flock, there's probably going to be safety. So let's see how this applies to your life and mine. You may have to confess, as I do, that there are times, or there have been times, when I've needed correction. And so we find these verses from Hebrews chapter 12, where Jesus, where the apostle, whoever is writing this, says, my son, my daughter, and these are the words of Jesus, do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor be weary when reproved by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and chastises every son whom he receives. Did you catch that? He disciplines the one he loves. Oh yes, love is the motivating factor. I remember, and this is just a very brief account, two little boys sitting on the steps talking to each other, and the one was complaining about how strict his parents were and how he just hated that. The other little boy said, oh, I wish my daddy and mommy loved me enough to correct me and punish me. That's interesting, and that really is a proof of our love, isn't it? And whom the Lord loves, he chastens. That's a wonderful thing. That's comforting to us, isn't it? When we've gone astray, knowing that he loved us enough to come after us. Remember that one sheep that got away? And the shepherd left the 99 in the wilderness and went after that sheep? And then when he found it, he brought it back rejoicing, had it secure on his shoulders. And that brought great joy, even in the presence of the angels of heaven, over that one sheep that had gone astray and was rescued. So, dear ones, that discipline gives us the assurance that he loves us, does not want us to go astray, and that indeed should be a comfort to us. He wants us to share in his holiness. And when we are trained by his correction, the Word of God says, we experience the peaceable fruit of righteousness. And we all want that, don't we? As we walk through that dark valley, don't we want the peaceable fruit of righteousness? Well, in order for that, let us keep our eyes on our good shepherd who loves us. Let's listen for his voice. Let's listen to his voice and follow him. I trust there's been something for you today, dear ones. Thank you again for joining us. And until we see you again next time, the Lord willing, may he bless and keep you. So long.